Good evening, Mr. Les Sneed. This is Alan over at Maynard and Consultants. I have a report for you for the new proposition that we have in regards to the new stadium that we're building in Los Angeles for the LA Rams. Being that this is a state-of-the-art stadium and that it's going to be the most, how would we put this? The best stadium in the world, up to date. We want to bring the most best technologies that we can possibly bring to the people around. And also, we want to keep our innovation high to be the leaders in new stadiums and all the innovations that we can provide, not only for the stakeholders, but for the fans alike. Let's see. I have written a report here that not only brings in all the statistics that it is that we need to know in regards to the new proposition that I'm about to make, but it's quite enthusiastic in the viewpoints of our fans. It has a lot of promising benefits for it, and not that many things against us, not that many cons that can get in our way here. Less red tape, of course. Let's see. So, what I'm about to propose here is that we have drones added to NFL games, and to be the first ones in the NFL league to actually have drones within the games. The one thing that we do want to look at is the legalization of this process. There can be a lot of barriers that we might run into. Drones are a new thing and they're actually coming out on the news, and a bunch of people are getting in trouble for having the wrong kinds of drones out there. What we want to do is that we want to make sure that we have all the legal parameters of getting these drones to be able to use them within the NFL during the games and in our new stadium. We want to be the first ones to actually have this in world-class sports venues. Stadiums for that matter. Okay, so first off, I want to go ahead and say that there is no federal laws that go against using drones at this point. The one thing that they do ask is that there's guidelines that are suggested. The FFA has in place a regulation called FAR 91.13, which prohibits the careless and reckless operations of these unmanned aircraft. Now that is only careless and reckless. We do hire professionals. We will have this project would be underhand. We wouldn't run into those things. There are a couple regulations that we have to keep in mind. One of them is, and the most important to us, being that we're the consultants here for the LA Rams, we want to make sure that we get within what we need to do and we don't get in trouble by doing this through federally and of the FFA. One of the regulations that they ask for is that unmanned aircrafts are not to be within 5 miles of an airport, and unmanned aircrafts are not to fly more than 400 feet into the air, because this will start legal airspace, national airspace. And being that we're right in the flight path of LAX, we have to make sure that these aircrafts do not exceed 400 feet, or else we will meet serious fines, not only to our own stadium, not only to our own team, but also the league will have to confront us with this kind of situation. Another thing that they ask in Regulation 14 CFR Part 48 is the registration and marking requirements. Now, that shouldn't be a problem, as in the NFL, there's all the regulations and authorizations that we need for all the different kinds of products that are made. We should have this under control. I also provided for you a map that shows the legalizations of different states. California, as it shows right now, it's proposed drone legislation, which means that they're trying to propose some laws. Nothing is in place yet, so as of right now, we're still okay. There shouldn't be much of anything that will stop us here. Okay, now let's see. The one thing that we do want to address is the regulations in place. Like I mentioned before, 5-mile perimeter from the airport. Now, we know that the Inglewood Stadium is going to be very close to the airport. I actually did my homework on this. It's 4.1 miles away from the airport, which means that we're in violation of 0.9 miles of this regulation. Being that it's not 5 miles away, let's not assume that we're going to throw this out the door right away. I went ahead and spoke with FAA, and they told me that due to the conditions, it would be okay to have the unmanned aircraft within the stadium because it is a closed roof stadium. Now, it is glass and whatnot, unless we open the glass, which I'm not sure where we're going to go around this yet. But if it is a closed roof stadium, it will be perfectly fine. Plus, also, the stadium is built underground, most of it for that matter. We only have a couple 100 feet that are built off the ground due to FFA regulations. That being a part of it, it should fly within the same range as the ones that we want to also have outside of the stadium. And we'll talk about that more in a bit. Let's see right here. So the regulations in the US, like I said, there is no federal regulations. And the main thing is just trying to stay under 400 feet due to the flight path of LAX that is directly across from the stadium. Regulations in sports. Now, this is not the first sport to use drones. This is the first major sport to use drones. Another sport that we have is the PGA. It is currently using drones for their golf tournaments and all the opens. This would be the first grand association to use drones. The NFL and the Los Angeles Rams would be the first team to actually get involved in this kind of situation. Now, what I've been seeing is that we went and interviewed Coach Mora from the UCLA Bruins team. He says that they've been using drones during practice. Now, that's another thing that I wanted to bring out. The NFL has authorized the drone use during practice, not during the games yet, but in practice, which means that if they're the things that, for example, Coach Mora said, you can see the spacing between the players when they're on the line. You can see the moves directly, as if you would with the cameras that we have now that go through the wire. But this would be a lot more better. Say we have about 4 drones in the stadium. You would be able to see every single kind of angle from top to bottom view. It would be a great proposition. We would have various angles, which is one of the things that we'll also propose in a little bit. Now, we want to make sure that we do have the right kind of drone. Usually drones, commercial drones for hobby or whatnot, usually go about 20 minutes, 30 minutes in flight. We have found commercial type drones that are professional grade, that can fly, as they describe by the makers, is a 3DR, as flying over the ocean 6 to 7 hours. That would be perfect, say in the situation where we have the Super Bowl at the stadium. 5-hour game, this would definitely work for us. The cost of these drones is around 6,000 to 8,000. We won't really need more than a dozen. I believe, I'm not here with the financials. You'll have to discuss that with your own committee there, but I believe that we would get our money's worth for this kind of actions that we take. One of the things that we want to focus on is the visuals. The visuals that we're going to have for these games are going to be amazing. We're going to be able to see every kind of angle. Everybody that's watching these games on TV are going to be blown off their feet. Everybody that can see the replays. We also want to have replays in mobiles. That's something that's coming out. So you can see the replay on your phone through these drones. It's going to be quite amazing. Another thing that we want to do is have the drones outside during tailgating. Football is not the same if you don't tailgate. We don't want to have the kind of situation where we have, like, what's the guy's name? Let me go ahead and bring this guy's name. I think his name was Brandon Stowe. He was a San Francisco Giants fan that got beat up in the ravine at Dodger Stadium. No one really got to see much of what happened. The cameras didn't catch that, security cameras. We want to avoid this. We want to make sure that we have the drones flying around the outside while people are having a good time, barbecuing, drinking, whatnot, while they're tailgating outside before the games. This would avoid a lot of different kinds of safety hazards, a lot of kind of violations that we might have, a lot of dangers for that matter. We just keep it safe and friendly. A last thing that I want to bring up of a service that can possibly work for us would be having drones take the place of the vendors within the stadium. Instead of having people walking up and down these stadiums, going back to the cafeteria, back to the customers, trying to get the food to the customers, because if you're stuck in the middle of the seat, you don't have much space. Due to normal stadiums, I'm guessing that this stadium we will have more space, of course, since it's state of the art. But it's kind of a hassle when you have people, you're sitting in the middle of the row, you have people to both sides trying to get up and down, you're just going to pass down your money and they're just going to pass down your food. It's not really that convenient. What we want to do is we want to use drones that will go from the cafeteria to the customer's exact seat. They'll have a carriage, if you would, underneath the drone, which will lower the concession stands that the customer bought, and they can go ahead and collect their food. Now, the way they would pay it is in front of every seat there would be a tablet with the menu of all the different kinds of foods that we saw at the concession stand, kind of like what they have at Olive Garden. You would be able to order what food that you want. You can go ahead and pay on this tablet. You put the tablet back to where it needs to go. It would actually be connected, so it won't be taken or anything like that. That would send a signal over to the cafeteria, and the cafeteria operators would then send the food on with the drone. I guess one of the cons that we have with this issue is that people on the higher levels might have the drone, they won't see the play, but it's a quick process. It wouldn't be much of a deal. I don't hope that it will bring much of anything. Now we want to see how we can relate these drones specifically to LA Rams versus just something that would be random or in a broad perspective that everyone can use. Now let's just get real. If this does happen, it's going to be something everyone's going to want to use. When new products come out, every carrier wants to be able to have them. Every team's going to want to have them. Every sport's going to want to have them. It's going to become international. You're going to use it in rugby for London. It'll go all over the place. Olympics, whatnot, you name it. The one thing that we can do to keep it exclusive to the Rams is we can just put logos on it, just like we do every product. We have a cup, we put a logo on it. We have a pen, we put a logo on it. We can put logos on these drones, and it'll be exclusive to the LA Rams. Let me go ahead and present you with some figures that we have here. We have a figure right here, which would be the model that we want to use for 3DR's model. And then right here we're showing how the drone is actually flying over while we're having the game. You can see how we kick the ball and whatnot. Close stadium, so we have our parameters. This example right here, figure 3, shows how the food is being brought down into the undercarriage to the fans while the drone is above them. Once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Lesnine, for your time and proposition for the new ideas that we have for the LA Rams. And I hope that this works out. Drones for LA Rams. And let's thank you.